Rife. New concerns are being raised about the secret assignment of terror scores to air travelers. For the past 4 years, Homeland Security officials have been keeping close tabs on air travelers, scoring millions of Americans based on a terrorist or criminal assessment. Everything from how you paid for your ticket to the meal you eat, all of it is apparently being tracked. But here's the catch. You're not allowed to see or directly challenge the score. The question, is this a violation of your privacy or just the new reality after 9/11? Our next guest will weigh in. Hussein Ibish is executive director with the Foundation for Arab American Leadership, and Herb London is president of the Hudson Institute and professor at NYU. Thanks to both of you for being here. Appreciate it.
Nice to be with you.
Hey, Herb, let's start with you. How can this scoring system, let's just put aside privacy, but how can this scoring system actually protect us from a terror attack?
Well,
you buy that?
Well, one of the things that you have to do, you have to realize that an octogenarian from Iowa with 5 grandchildren is not likely to be a terror contact. And so what you're doing is you're trying to look at the odds and consider who are the people who are most likely to be a threat to the United States or to air traffic. And in looking at it, it's very obvious. And so what we're doing is attempting to keep score. It seems to me that this is a very appropriate kind of approach to the way in which security is thought about at the airports.
Hussein, I have to tell you that I have friends that say, thank God the federal government is doing something. We've been waiting to hear what the programs are. Do you have concerns that the federal government shouldn't be intruding here?
Well, I mean, I think that there are legitimately 3 concerns. Of course, it, by the way, is necessary to have security. And a system like this might be a useful tool for security. But there are 3 concerns. One is the privacy issue. There is something Big Brother-ish about these huge data mining operations. But if it really is an effective security measure, probably most Americans would live with that. There is a concern about disparate impact. But if it's really been going on for 4 years, or let's say 2 years, we don't really know how long it's been in place at a grand scale, but if it's been in place for a while, then it probably isn't having a disparate impact because no one noticed that disparate impact. And thirdly, there is a question about the extent to which this is outsourced to private corporations and therefore how accurate it would be. But also I'd like to add that there's a potential upside to this, which is that it could not only provide greater security, it could also reduce the number of false positives regarding the no-fly list, where people have names that are kind of similar to names on the no-fly list, and there are a group of passengers that have had a hard time flying, even though they're not a security risk. If this system really had a kind of long paper trail for every person, it ought to theoretically reduce the number of false positives. And if it's really been in place for a long time, it's not doing that either.
Okay,
so,
let's get Herb in here. You've been very patient.
Well, I think it's very obvious that if you look at the antecedents, it's clear that there hasn't been this kind of adverse effect on the public. By and large, the public is unaware of it, and I don't think anyone's privacy has been terribly interfered with. More importantly, and I think most significantly, if it provides a degree of security, as your guest is pointing out, then it seems to me a perfectly logical way to proceed. I mean, people can talk about the 4th Amendment and talk about illegal search and seizure, but the fact of the matter is that everyone wants to have a degree of security when they enter an aircraft. And if this program provides a degree of security we did not have heretofore, then it strikes me as a perfectly reasonable way to proceed.
Well, you're both not really arguing.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I got to cut it off because of time.
Well,
but, I mean,